Hello everybody and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video we will be talking about the post-Trump conviction and how the conviction, yesterday's conviction, is already affecting the 2024 presidential race. We already have nationwide polls following the conviction, with new voters responding after this conviction in the Manhattan hush money case. So we already do have a slight sense, at least, not an entire sense that we can, use, hugely, but we do have a small taste of what this election will be like following this conviction. And this will be very interesting to see if the Biden campaign does run on this, or even if the Trump campaign does run on this, because, of course, Trump used all of the indictments and everything like that, the legal pursuits against him in the Republican primary, but these polls they're not really friendly towards Trump. They don't show that general election voters necessarily like what they're seeing from this conviction. These polls, and we're going to get to them in a second, but these new polls show that that voters are unhappy with Trump following this conviction, and that they are actually less likely to vote for him after. So let's get into this poll we see here. So it's not detrimental to the Trump campaign, but it definitely isn't a good thing. You see that a majority of voters, 54% of registered voters in this poll, do approve of this guilty verdict. 54%. Now, that doesn't mean that 46% will say no, I'm against it. Then that's just about even. But this 54% is big because, it's not 46% who are against it. There are people who are undecided. So the percentage of people that are really that are against this verdict is really quite low. But anyway, that doesn't even really matter when it comes to the election. See here, 49% of independents say that Trump should drop out of the race. 49% of independents. 50% of likely Republican voters believe Trump should drop out. And 8% of his own supporters, 8% of Trump supporters, think that he should drop out of the presidential race. This point right here, I think that is the most concerning, because you really have to have concerns about someone, to say that they shouldn't run. You can dislike a person, but I feel that a lot of people wouldn't say that they should necessarily drop out of the race. So that's huge there. 56% of Republican voters say that the conviction doesn't change their vote. That seems about right. Again, Republican voters, and 35% say Republicans say that they are more inclined to vote for Trump. Now, take that with a grain of salt, right? The 35%, those are just the diehard Trump supporters already, who are just answering that in the poll, even though they were 100% already certain that they were going to vote for Trump. So I wouldn't care about that at all. But this is big. 10% of Republicans say that they are less likely to vote for Trump after the conviction. And a quarter of independents say the same thing. So we have raw data here. 10% of his own party and 25% of independents say that, yeah, we are less likely to vote for him after this conviction. So that, if this is a good representation of what we see, nationwide, not just in this poll, then, those voters being chipped away definitely hurts Trump, considering how close this election is likely to be. Now, look, this is huge. And now this is just a Twitter aggregate, but this is not, a Real Clear Politics aggregate or average, right, of all the polls, or a 538 average. However, this user, finds when they combine all of their polls that they consider legit, you see that at one time Trump was ahead by 3%. The red is Trump ahead. The blue is Biden ahead. But you see here, Donald Trump, this line represents yesterday when Trump was convicted on 34 counts. And then you see Trump was leading then. He was leading by about half a percentage point, 0.5%. And now you see that Biden takes the lead the day after, because you had two polls that this user puts in their aggregates. Both of them had Trump leading previously in their last poll, which we'll get to in 1 second, an example of it. And today, they conducted new polls and they released their polls today, you see that Biden now leads. Look, I mean, just take that in. Trump was leading. The day after, Biden takes the lead. That is not good for the Trump campaign. Look at this. This was one of the polls that they included that put Biden now in the lead in their aggregate. But you see here in this new poll, in this Echelon Insights poll, Biden, 49%, Trump, 47%. The change from May 16th, that the same pollster conducted a poll on May 16th. That poll had Trump ahead with 49% and Biden in second at 46%. It was 46 to 49 because you see here, Biden gained 3 percentage points since May 16th. Trump lost 2. I mean, this is clear evidence. This is just one poll. But considering that the same pollster did a poll on May 16th, and they did one yesterday after the Trump conviction, the same voters too, I believe too. That just shows you how there are people who are changing their minds after this conviction. And what I think is huge, most important, honestly, is not even the independent voters. I mean, sure, that's important, 18%. But independent voters like to go back and forth a lot. And, they could end up anywhere on Election Day. But what's really interesting, considering the 2020 election, which we'll talk about in a second, is that 10% of Republicans say that they are less likely to vote for Trump. Another poll had 4% of previous Trump supporters, not just Republicans, Trump supporters saying that they will vote for Trump in November. 4% now say that they will not after this conviction. Not that they are less inclined to. No, they simply will not vote for Trump after this conviction. And that is so important when you look at the 2020 map because Biden, pretty famously, the media loves to talk about this, he won at least 2 states because of the fact that Donald Trump turned away these more moderate Republican voters, and it appears that this conviction has done the same thing again in 2024. Most notably, Arizona, the state of John McCain, where, Trump during his presidency came out that he called John McCain a loser for being a prisoner of war, and he just constantly mocked and attacked John McCain, and Trump supporters really hated John McCain, right? That was very clear. They loved to hate on John McCain. And ultimately, I don't think that Donald Trump, when saying those things, really thought about it too hard because he ended up losing the state. Surprisingly, not many expected this, but Biden won the state of Arizona by 0.31% or something like that. And it is for certain, we have a high amount of more centrist, traditional, I'll say, not even centrist, they could be very conservative, but more traditional conservatives who don't like Trump's rhetoric, how he speaks, and all of that, in Maricopa County, primarily. So we have a lot of traditional conservative Republican voters, the John McCain voters, who were turned away from Trump in 2020 because of his remarks. Now in 2024, it looked like at least many or most of these voters found their way back to the Republican Party and were like, sure, we don't like Trump's rhetoric, but he is so much better than Biden. Biden has been a disaster. We at least have to get a Republican back. So they are supporting him. However, this conviction, it looks like, with 4% of Trump supporters saying now that they will not vote for him, with 10% of Republicans saying that they are now less likely to vote for him, that 10% are the McCain Republicans who voted for Biden in 2020, who were convinced because of how much they didn't like Trump and his personality and his rhetoric and how he spoke. They were turned to Biden in 2020, and it appears that, they might not necessarily be go back to Biden in 2024, turn out and vote for Biden, but it looks like that they are not voting for Trump in this trial. These more centrist, traditional, voter blocks, like McCain Republicans, like suburban parents around Philadelphia in the state of Pennsylvania, those voters will be critical, And those voters, I feel, are greatly affected by this trial. I've talked so much about how these suburban voters, Delaware County, Chester County, Montgomery County, Bucks County, and Pennsylvania, around Philadelphia, they trended heavily towards Biden in 2020. Just take Chester. Hillary Clinton won it by 9.5%. Biden won it by 17.1%. These counties trended heavily towards Biden in 2020 for that kind of return to normalcy sort of campaign that Biden was running, during COVID and everything. And Trump was heavily unpopular. So Biden needs to keep these voters. He needs to keep the the McCain Republicans, and he needs to keep his suburban voters. If he can do that, he can probably win the election. This conviction helps him enormously with both of those groups. Enormously, because I feel that, suburban voters, parents, McCain voters, these voters who a lot of their vote is based off of, the kind of person and the kind of leadership that the candidates possess, those voters will be attracted to Biden, or I shouldn't even say that, but less attracted to Trump enormously after this conviction. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all subscribe. That helps out great. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. That's the goal. Become a channel member for exclusive perks, or you can leave a tip on YouTube. That helps out a lot. And thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.